Welcome back to part two.
Part two, Cory.
Part two.
And we had a pretty intense part one.
We did.
I don't know. What did you all think about part one? We talked about religion.
Yeah, let's recap.
Let's recap.
Because it was great. All right, so what did we talk about?
Who we were told God was to us. And we talked about, the man upstairs, and we talked about the guy in the sky, and we talked about the throne with a beard.
The white beard.
The white beard. Okay.
Right.
Isn't that Santa Claus? Anyway. Naughty or nice. But anyway, it comes from the concept of having a social norm instilled in you as a child or in a religious structure. From an atheistic point of view, too, of there being no God, it's a program that we're taught from other people. You can be programmed in college, you can be programmed in school, you can be programmed in church.
In adulthood, all the way into adulthood.
Yeah. About who God was, the man in the sky, and all that.
We talked about the dark night of the soul, which doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be intimidating. And it's really nothing more than a transition period between updating or redefining your belief systems or what you believe in.
To something that's more authentic to your soul's vibration and to you and to...
I like that. I like that terminology, saying that it's more authentic to you, because that's exactly what it is. You learn who you really are.
And like I mentioned with my dark night of the soul, I reached a point where I felt like I was living a lie, because I believed I fully believed something different, but I was acting like I fit the social norm. I was acting, and nobody knew that I was still following one traditional viewpoint when I believed something different. And when I finally came out and said, I don't believe that anymore, it was... hell broke loose, but I felt freed.
Yeah. Yep.
Definitely that transition point.
Yeah, right. We talked about the balancing of the divine feminine and masculine energies, and about how the idea of being unbalanced just creates chaos.
Yes, and the viewpoint of God as being only He creates that imbalance as well. Our imbalance in our viewpoint, imbalance in how we view Him, and then imbalance when we talked about the imbalance of the male and the female during the Dark Ages, of where one rose higher and then the other one before the flood or before the last civilization, how the female rose and it created imbalance. So anytime that there's an imbalance in energy. Yeah, we went deep into several of these topics about why spiritual narcissism needs to be done with.
Oh, yeah.
Where one person telling another person, you need to believe this. That's done. Yeah. We're done with the age of the priest. We're done with the age of the pastor telling you what to believe. I'm not saying you can't have a priest or a pastor you go to for help or assistance, but the age of being forced to believe a worldview, we're done with that. Yeah. That cannot exist in where we're going in our connection with the divine.
That's right. That's exactly right. So speaking of the divine, then, we want to, in part two of this podcast, we want to explore who you believe the divine is. Or what the divine is, not who, maybe what. And Ruth and I are both going to give you our own opinions of how we see the divine, our worldview of the divine. I don't know if we'll call it a worldview, because it goes way beyond the world.
Yes. Cosmic view.
I guess it's just an easy way to say it. That's really all it is. It's just an easy way to say it. But we'll give you our opinions of what we believe.
And the concept of a worldview gives you the concept of it can change, and when we talked on our last episode, we started out with one worldview, went through the dark night of the soul, and began growing into another worldview or another perspective or another experience of who God was. Right. And so we want to give that to you all. You might not resonate with either one of our experiences, worldviews, perspectives, but you might have something in between them both, or on one side or on the other, or something totally different.
Good, right.
Right.
Yeah, so on that note, let's listen to Ruth's opinion.
Okay. I've been excited to do this for a while. I think my worldview started out as very traditional. God was one way. I actually caught OCD, blah, blah, blah. That's in the last episode. I then morphed into believing a little bit different viewpoint, and it all started and stemmed around the Bible. But then I always had a connection to somebody or something that was bigger than my three-dimensional form. As a little girl, I would take my little notebook out and I would write, "Dear God," and I would write letters to God, and then I would hear messages back. And it was done alone. It was done in a quiet meditative state. Even though I didn't do meditation, I was on the ground, always sitting on the ground, so I was grounding. So a lot of those old practices started coming in. And so I then reached a point, though, where I got mad at this being that I called God. And I knew that it was a cosmic divine force, even as a little girl. I knew it was something within me that connected to something. But I went through several dark nights of the soul, and I was like, I'll believe in you, but I don't want to talk to you.
Sound like an Israelite.
I'll talk to you. Yeah, I'll talk to you, but I'm not going to serve you ever again. And what I saw here was, the more I said that, and because some of the things I went through with church or experiences, the more this presence just filled my heart and said, that's okay. I don't need you to talk to me. I don't need you to serve me. I'm still with you. I still love you. It was very emotional. And that's, I believe, the time where I met Source, God, Creator, something inside of me that was a light beyond what I had ever imagined. That's where my programming of this man in the sky, man on the throne, literally fell off of me. And I realized I had a presence inside of me that no matter what I said to it, it would always be there. It was always filled with love, and it was okay with my dark night of the soul. It was okay with my anger. It was okay with my frustration. So if I had to take away all structures and opinions, and I have a lot of them, so we'll get into them. But anyway, if you just stripped off all the beliefs, the esoteric, the Christianity, the Bible, that is to me something that I can't even define. That presence of, it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't need you to talk to me.
Right.
Anyway, so that was the basis of me truly coming to know. So who is this presence, Cory? What is this?
Right. Well, I just wanted to point something out. You just said that the whole idea of this presence saying, that's okay. I don't need you to talk to me. I don't need you to serve me. It's almost like saying to you, I'm going to be with you no matter what. Wow. Doesn't that go against a lot of the stuff that you and I were brought up with?
Yes.
You must serve this God. You are here to serve this God. What?
And if you don't serve, there will be consequences.
There will be consequences, right. How sad.
And that actually tore down a major programming. People have said the biggest wound of this world is the lie of separation from God.
Yes, I can't remember who said that.
It's the biggest core wound in our DNA.
Yeah.
That's just been passed down from generations, that you're just automatically separated.
That you were
from
separated.
God.
That you were separated from God by a sin.
Because I thought I was separating when I said, I'll believe in you, but I thought I was separating.
And you weren't.
And they were, no. So that to me should be the basis of our inner presence connection, should be the basis of anything we go in to explore who God is to us. I feel that.
I think that's great.
That inner presence. And you can almost believe anything you want, but if you connected to that inner presence, that's God, that's source, that's light,
and that
its
is
highest
so
form.
hard to describe.
It is hard to describe.
There's really no words to describe it. You can't really describe it. I think you would agree with me on that one, right?
I would. So I began seeing God. I began calling him Creator. I call Holy Spirit, but I actually stopped calling him God, because the word God referred to the old God that said, you have to serve me. So I'm healing. I can still say God, but I always like to say source consciousness God, so it allows my mind and my program, because I believe when I began studying the metaphysical realm and all the different scriptures, that it is the divine intelligent life force, the source from where we all come.
Good.
And it is an energetic being, but it's an intelligent being. And it encompasses so much farther than what we know.
Right.
As a little girl, I actually used to feel that there were multiple creators. Like, like the one who created Earth and all its planets and the universes, I just was like, I know that the God source of us, I didn't call him source, but the God of us also had other. Anyway, that's something there that I just felt as a little girl.
Yeah.
But this God, the source consciousness, I call him source consciousness or creator spirit. Spirit, intelligence, life force, source, higher consciousness, the all in all. And my favorite word is the great I am. That's when I pray, I say to the great I am.
I like that one too.
I see God's source as like the brightest, purest form of light, energy, but intelligence. And then creating fractals to experience different realities. So he began creating different beings. And they were oftentimes very close to him. And we'll talk about it in the next one, but they're called Elohim, and they represent the rays of the rainbow. And it's from these Elohim that created the world, and the architects, the fairies, and the gnomes come from all of that.
Right.
And then the Archai, and the Archai is one step above the archangels. So this is how I relate to the divine, okay? With the creator source creating beings, and they all have different attributes or characteristics of source of how he wants, or she it wants to express itself. So like Archangel Michael has protection and truth, and that's an energy coming in, but he's an intelligent being. And I believe that these intelligent beings are ways that we actually experience God. And so there was the Archai, and then the Archangel, and then the angel, and then the human. And the human was created to be in the esoteric teaching teaches that the human was created, and some of the angels were given the choice to enter duality, where we experience light and dark. Our souls are parts of creator, fractals of the divine, and we experience things, and we go back to the light and come back. And so source consciousness creator is intelligent being that embodies everyone, even the dark beings, and actually experiences, because think about it, Cory. Could you truly say you know all things if you never know darkness?
No, there can't be light without darkness. Right. And that's an interesting point, because I've heard it explained like this: darkness and light are exactly the same thing. It's kind of like it's a scale of energy. It's the same exact thing. It's just a scale of energy.
And I think what he's also talking about, which is making me think about this, is like, you can't know true joy unless you know sorrow.
Right.
You don't know true pleasure until you know pain.
Right. You don't know hot unless you know cold.
Yes. And so creator actually wouldn't be fulfilled without the light and the darkness. Now, where I feel that the plan of the divine was in creating duality was you hit darkness and then you transmute and come back to the light. And you hit another place of darkness and you come back to the light.
Transmuted into light. That's
and
right.
I do believe that humanity and some of the angels chose to go into duality, and the plan was to ascend back to the light. Some people don't choose that. Some angels or entities don't choose that.
Right.
But I actually do, and this is my worldview, I do believe that even the darkest angels, Lucifer, Ahriman, Moloch, Baal, that chose to stay in this, I do believe that they have a choice to go back to the light.
If they want to, yeah.
And many people have even said the god Thoth.
Thoth, yeah.
Yeah, he used to be considered in the ancient scriptures quite a negative god. Like, he had a history of creating some catastrophes on the earth plane. And the intuitives present day have said he is ascending back to the light.
Wow.
He especially is changing. And another example of this, since we're going real woo-woo, is several of the entities are also called grays or gray aliens, and they might have morphed into some of the darkness. And some of them have actually begun ascending to the light and are actually beings people are currently channeling. Yes. In fact, some people have said, well, I don't want to mention it, but I do believe that he said it himself, like Bashar. Like his spirit that he channels admitted he had a period of darkness.
Yes.
I believe that.
Yeah. Yep.
And that he's coming back to the light.
Right.
And so that's very shocking. Not everyone in the traditional Christian worldview will believe that Lucifer could ever be saved. But when you understand it with the worldview of that was the purpose of darkness, was to ascend back to light.
So are you telling me these entities have a dark night of the soul?
I do believe they do.
That sounds like it.
I do believe, especially like when Jesus would cast some of the entities out and they would say, no, don't send me back to the abyss, please don't, because they liked where they were. That was their dark night of the soul. It was where they almost had to make a choice.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother topic.
That's a whole nother topic.
So when I connect to Source, Cory, it is actually through the beings I feel Source has given to us as his representatives.
Yeah.
The spirit guides, the angels, my guides, getting to know my ancestors. When I ask for communication from the divine, I actually look to my specific guides. What this does is it puts a portal of protection so that you're not hearing from your ego or from entities who just pop in with a whole bunch of guidance. Because I used to pray just to Holy Spirit and see it as a blank person in the sky.
And an umbrella entity.
I got lied to by a lot of negative spirits. But when I call upon a specific archangel and I get to know that energy, that intelligent being that appears in my consciousness when I ask, it's the same vibration and it's the same. And that's actually one way that I feel keeps us in a solid connection with the divine. Okay. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
That's at least where I'm at in my journey.
Adventure.
And then my adventure. So I believe that we are all individual sparks, fractals of source consciousness, experiencing light and dark with a choice of free will to make. And I believe that when I say the universe, and I want to see what you think about this. When I say the universe, like I'll tell someone, I just want to go with the flow of the universe. Now I see many people interpret it as God, which is good, which is good.
That's another word for it.
Another source consciousness. But I see the universe as like that part of God that is the laws and the attraction and the flow and the tug and the pull, like the mind of Christ, the mind of God. So when I say go with the flow of the universe, I'm recognizing that there are certain spiritual laws of attraction or repelling, and that divine masculine, divine feminine, polarity, duality, karma, reaping what you sow. And so when I talk about the universe, I actually talk about that mind of source, like those things established in the light that it's either going to take you one way or take you the other. But I also respect other people when they use it as a term of God. It's just like, that's my point of view right now.
Sure.
Yeah. So what do you think? What would you say your definition of God is?
Oh, yeah. Definition of God. So I do agree with you that using the term I am kind of encompasses it all. In fact, I really enjoy doing that when people say, describe yourself. And I just say, I am. That kind of sums it all up, right? And since God's within us, I am. Right? I look at it differently. I like the way that your interpretation of it is compartmentalized. And I think my opinion is that for you that works because of the way your thought patterns are. They can you need some structure in your thinking to keep things making sense. So you can compartmentalize, like, your specific beings representing specific aspects of God, Creator God. Yes. And your definition of the universe. And that totally makes sense to me. I totally get that. My view on it is a bit more open,
Gotcha.
I would say. Now, I took a lot of information from Dr. Joe Dispenza. I like his methodology of being able to explain the metaphysical in scientific terms. I like his terminology when he says science is the contemporary language of mysticism. And when he sits there and explains something to you and tells you physically how it's actually happening in your body, in your 3D body, how the pineal gland actually acts as an antenna because there are actual crystals inside there which get pressure put on them through your spinal fluid being pumped up and cleaning your brain out. And when you put pressure on a crystal, you get what? You get the piezoelectric effect. In other words, you create electricity, which is a beacon. So pressure on, you get a charge of energy. Pressure off, it turns off. Just like a computer binary 1 to 0, on, off. So your pineal gland actually acts as an antenna. So he actually takes you through all this stuff and explains the metaphysical
from more of a scientific
perspective.
I like that.
So
I like that.
he does that. He also does that with, he doesn't use the words God and spirit, and he calls it a intelligent love, a loving intelligence. That's what he calls, that's his terminology for God. And I like that. I really like that a lot. It's an intelligence. So
can I butt in right there?
yeah.
That intelligence, when I first began exploring God, that's how it's presented to me in my heart core. It's an intelligence, but it's not material.
Right.
And we try to make it material. So go ahead. I really resonate with that.
Good. Okay, good. I kind of resonated with an intelligent love, a loving intelligence. You know, your body's innate intelligence is actually God. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. So I kind of resonated with that concept and thought, you know, I really believe that it's a collective consciousness.
Interesting.
And so then I'm actually getting into the definition of what I believe it is right now. It is a collective consciousness, and I think I might have mentioned this in the last podcast, is that everything, all right, so consciousness is an energy. Everything has energy.
That.
Energy. The plants outside, energy. The sidewalk, the concrete, energy. All of it is consciousness. So to me, what is quote unquote God? It's the combined consciousness of everything. That's how I see God. So the beings that you talk about, my ancestors, my guides, my angels, my demons,
it's all consciousness.
They're all consciousness, which is part of the collective. Now, how can you experience the collective? Again, I'll go back to Joe Dispenza on this one. So what he calls it the unified quantum field. Now, it's such, I mean, to say it that way, it makes it limited. Like, okay, so it's just a field. You know, you look at it as a field.
I see that.
But you have to switch your thinking there, and not a 3D field, but think of an electrical field. An electrical field is a 3D field. It goes every direction. It goes everywhere for an infinite amount of space-time. Infinite. So where do you connect to this collective consciousness, this infinite unified quantum field? Where do you connect to it? Well, it's too easy.
I know where he's going.
It's too easy. Joe Dispenza said, no, I'm sorry, he just quoted someone else who said, if you really want to hide God from human beings, put God inside them. They'll look everywhere else before they go inside. And that's where God is. Kingdom of heaven's right in your heart. Jesus said so himself in the Bible. So that unified quantum field, God, source, creator, whatever you want to call it, it's all in here. All of it. Yeah. Everything exists in here. You want to know how to connect to it? Go inward.
Yes. Yeah, like I was during that dark night of the soul when I said I don't want God. Something was inside of me that said, it's okay, I'm still with you. Yeah. And I've heard some people say, like, you have source consciousness, and I wanted to ask you about because people say, well, the consciousness of the collective, people are so bad, why would I want to tap in? There's pure consciousness too, like the light, like the pure side. And the only way to connect to that pure side is to our higher self, our heart. That's where it dwells. How would you explain that?
I would even go as far to say, again, opinions here, that there's no such thing as good or bad.
Okay.
I think those are concepts that we've created to describe high and low vibration.
Okay.
There's no such thing as good or bad.
Okay.
Because all of it is an experience that you have to experience, or that you have signed up to experience in order to help your soul grow. Now, why on earth would you call something bad if it's helping your soul to grow?
Gotcha.
Right?
I see what you're saying.
So I don't believe, my opinion, I don't believe in good or bad. I don't believe in right or wrong. I do truly believe that everything happens for a reason. Okay. Now, I remember saying that when I was in high school with my Bible under my arm. Everything happens for a reason, you know. And then I got chastised for that by the church.
Yeah.
They're saying, you can't just go around telling everybody. How is that supposed to help comfort someone who just lost their mother?
Yeah.
And I'm like, everything happens for a reason. But that actually came full circle. Because now I truly do. There's no such thing as coincidences.
No. And so you're talking like synchronicities and things life events that come along our path and that help steer us. Those dark nights of the soul, that rejection, the pain. the car accident.
Right. All of it. Now, here's an interesting way to look at that too, is, and man, I wish we really had the time to go into meditation, because I'd love to be able to explain it the way that Joe Dispenza explains meditation. But one of the things he says is that you have to become the observer. If you're going through an event, let's just say you're sitting in a chair all by yourself, nobody else in the room, no light on, no nothing. You can sit there and be inside yourself and think, I am so freaking bored. I can barely stand it. And you can start generating a whole lot of feelings and emotions, and, or you can choose to step outside of yourself and become the observer and just watch what you're doing. Watch yourself and see what you're doing. Once you disconnect from the emotion, the event doesn't matter anymore.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I have heard some mystics and psychics say to truly connect to the higher realms, you have to reach a place of neutrality in your emotions. So, like, let's say you enter that place in meditation and you want to hear a message from your higher self or from source. You actually get into a place of peace for the message to come in, but then once you receive it, you don't want to get excited, you don't want to get angry. Like, you don't want, oh, goody, I just heard a message. You really want to stay as the observer, because that's going to help you stay connected to your inner light.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and I think we need to clarify a couple things there. We use the terms feeling and emotion interchangeably, but they're not. They're different.
Okay.
They're different, right? A feeling would be my stomach is knotting up. A feeling would be my heart is beginning to race. A feeling would be my head feels hot.
Gotcha.
Now, take all those feelings and put them together, and now you're experiencing
an illness,
something, or like
anxiety,
or anger, right? So we have to understand that there's a difference there. This is okay. Again, I've really got to caveat this and say this is my opinion. This is my thinking. Right? Okay. When I'm not going to say you, because then I'm telling you what to do, right? when I go into meditation, I make sure that I put myself into a high vibrational state. So you have to ask yourself, well, what's a high? What is that? What does that mean?
Right.
What does that mean? Well, for lack of a better term, force myself to conjure up the feelings or the emotions of love, joy, peace, patience. Oh boy, where does that list come from? Gratitude, which is one of the best ones in my opinion. Gratitude's great. But I conjure those up because I know what they feel like because I've experienced them, right? Yes. So I put myself in that state. So I'm not quite sure that I would agree with the spiritualists who say that you have to stay emotionally neutral, because I don't think it's possible to connect to source when you go inside. Without those
love and feeling.
Without those emotions.
Right,
You've got to have them because you can't experience source when you're angry. At least through meditation. That's, and again, my opinion, and I'm sure there's others that would have a different opinion on this. I think that'd be the only place where I would say you do need to experience the emotion. But you can still do it as the observer. What that means is you can experience the emotion, but it does not have to be connected to an event. And
gotcha.
Let me back up even a little bit further. How do we come to define an emotion? I have such a hard time with this, okay? I'm not saying this as stated fact. I'll put that out there.
It's how you experience source, the divine.
Well, yes, but in order for you to understand what joy is, you first have to experience an event.
Interesting.
Right? You're
especially in the 3D reality, that's how we experience.
And I'm talking about the 3D reality strictly because this is one of the only incarnations one of the only places to incarnate where you can experience that range of emotions. But in order to understand an emotion and know what the emotion is, you have to go through an event that causes that emotion. heartbreak. The only way you're going to know what that feeling is if you go through heartbreak, an event, right? An experience. So there's a difference. Again, there's a difference between raising your vibration to a high emotion and not, or being the observer. Gotcha. So raise your vibration. Okay. So you can connect.
And then observe it.
And well, you can be the observer the whole time you're raising it. Okay. Right? You can just sit back and observe what's going on rather than being involved in the emotion. There we go. For example, for me to raise my emotion or my vibration to the emotion of joy, I don't have to sit there and think about joyous things. Okay. I can disconnect from any event and just experience joy. Gotcha. And that's what I mean by disconnecting and being the observer rather than putting yourself through an event to make yourself feel joy.
So you're training yourself to connect to special energies that put you into that state. Right. Instead of being attached to materialistic things. Yeah. Right? Right. It's really taking you out of the 3D and putting you in the 5D.
Exactly.
Which is in the emotional plane in the energetic realm.
Very good way of looking at it. Okay. Yeah,
that makes sense. Yes. That makes sense a lot. So you would connect to source as like energy, but intelligence and consciousness.
Yeah. So I would connect to source, this unified quantum field. Now, see, and again, I'm going to use all these terms interchangeably because I don't have an understanding of what God is. Yeah. Right? I don't. It's everything. And when I say everything, it's everything. So that's why I have no problem saying God, source, creator, universe, unified quantum field. I am. And here's something that's going to be really, really controversial for people who... this is going to be really controversial. I would even say, you're God. Yeah. I'm God. Yeah. In fact, Ram Dass says, treat everybody you meet like God in drag.
And why is that? Because we all have a divine light within us.
We are all fractals of God. We all have the divine spark. Every piece of your DNA has a divine spark. That's the breath of life the Bible talks about being breathed into you. It's your DNA. It is. It's your divine spark.
It's your breath. It's your DNA. It's the light. People have said that one human body, if you connected it to electrical nodes, it could light an entire city up for 3 days.
You could do that.
You would die, but that's how powerful our human bodies are as an energy and a light source. Yeah. And I was reading how our bodies have consciousness too. They know how to breathe. They have the DNA. They have the blueprints. And I was reading the other night that everything has a 3D form, but what creates this 3D form is actually a blueprint of an energy field around it.
That's right.
That gives it its blueprint. So like when a tree grows, there's actually the whole entire energy blueprint of that tree surrounding that seed. And so it grows, but it taps in from the energetic blueprint that's coming in from the quantum field.
That's right.
And so when you put your hands on a tree, it presents itself to you as a tactile substance like this. This is rough, but really that's just the way it presents to your 3D hand, but it really is an entire energetic field.
That's right.
With consciousness that connects, in fact, to like the Book of Life and the Akashic Records, carries ancient knowledge and wisdom. You can actually, it even, I believe, records the events of that land in the trees, like it just records
all of its
the events of that civilization because it's an energetic field.
Well, and that's another thing that Joe Dispenza says, is that energy is information. So he talks about, we used to believe that if you look at the basic structure of an atom, it's a nucleus with an electron or two spinning around it, right? We used to believe that these electrons actually orbited. They don't orbit. They don't orbit. And we also know now that an atom is 99.99999% empty space.
Yes.
But is it truly empty? No, it's full of energy. It's full of information.
Energy. Yes.
Now that electron, let's go back to that thing because that's kind of cool. That electron actually does not rotate or spin or orbit. it moves in and out of the quantum field.
Oh, wow.
So get this now. All right, this gets a little deep, but scientifically proven by Max Planck back in the early 1900s when he did his double slit experiment, that the electron moves in and out of the quantum field. It stays in the quantum field until it is observed. Once it's observed from energy into matter. Proven science. Now, why weren't we ever taught this stuff? Because if you realize what that means, then all you have to do is observe energy
and the information
into matter. You can create whatever you want. Now, how are you going to control a population if people are doing that? For example, you and I see these stones right here. Well, how do you think they got here? We created them.
Yes.
We have co-created this event right here. Right? This event would never have happened if we hadn't observed it into reality.
And that includes thinking of it and making plans and simply being in that possibility.
Right? And all that has to be done in a high state of vibration. It cannot be done in a low state. Because, well, no, that's not true.
Okay.
Take that back. You can do that in a low state, but you only attract low vibrational events to you.
We would have been fighting the whole time.
Exactly. Exactly. So I mean, I'm sure you know those people who are just constantly miserable. Everything that can go wrong goes wrong. Why? Because they manifest. Oh, now we're getting into manifestation. Oh, and all we were doing was talking about an electron.
And it's based on the quantum field and consciousness and source and where we come from.
Right, exactly. So
Wow.
if you take what we have discussed here, right, and you talk about this electron going in and out of the quantum field, what we're really talking about is God manifesting in 3D.
Into the 3D
Right.
realm.
That's all you're talking about. That's all you're talking about.
Like the ancient text, God said, "Let there be light."
Let there be light. And oh, by the way, you are God and you can do that.
Yes, yes.
The problem, so I know there's going to be another question, well then, why aren't more people doing this? Because you don't believe you can.
Yeah.
And you have been taught to believe that you cannot.
Well, go back to the words "I am." I am that I am. You cannot say I am without it including all consciousness.
Right.
Because you can say I am, everyone. And then you go to the words, well, I am abundant. Oh, God is in there. Source, consciousness, the quantum field, and it's in there. You can't escape the reality of the all when you say I am.
Right. That's right. And in fact, I would even take it a little step further, saying I am abundant. I would take it a step further and say I am abundance.
Abundance.
I am abundance. You know what? I can never be poor, personally. I can never be poor because I am abundance. And I believe that. I truly believe that. There's no way I'll ever be poor.
Yes.
Because that is a state that I will never acknowledge.
So what you mean by a state or a never can be is saying like you actually embrace into your energetic fields the energy of abundance. So
Right.
whenever it appears like a lack might appear, that energy fills in the gap.
There's no lack ever.
So that's and
When there is a energy of lack, it cannot penetrate my energy field.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
It cannot penetrate my energy field.
So what would you recommend to helping people develop their energy field into something that can actually be more godlike?
That's a really good question, Ruth. I wish I had a simple answer because, I'm still learning this. And I can't even tell you where I began. Well, I can. Because I purchased, and this is not a plug, by the way, but I purchased Joe Dispenza's course like 3 years ago. It's like 15 hours of videos. I don't remember how long it is, really. It's a lot of videos. And I must have been over this thing 8 times by now.
Wow.
If you could, that would be a great place to start if science resonates with you.
Okay.
And so that's really the only way I can address it. But Joe Dispenza is not for everybody. He definitely not. I know people that just don't like the way he teaches. I love it. So that resonates with me. And so this works for me. But if I had to give like a general piece of wisdom or information when it comes to that, start by believing.
That's good.
Just start by believing. And after that, learn that you can change your state of being. You create your own state of being. Whatever you're feeling right now, you've created it. So create a state of being that you want to be in. Don't let
situations,
because
people.
Then you're being a victim.
Yeah. You're letting them influence your energy fields.
I don't play victim anymore. Anything that happens to me is of my own doing. My own doing. Nobody else does anything to me. I do it.
And something that I do is say, okay, if you do have lack or illness or anything that you feel is not in your best expression of your godhood, you ask, okay, what am I believing or thinking or feeling that has attracted this to me? And that takes you into a little bit of a questioning sometimes of like, okay, maybe I need to change my self-talk. Maybe I need to start saying affirmations.
Because we are human after all.
We are
right?
human, and we attract, we get programmed, we have childhood trauma.
Right.
We have generational curses and blockages.
That's right.
And so if you feel blocked, that's okay. That's part of the journey of adopting the vibrations.
Would you also agree though that sometimes those things are put in our path for our highest and best good? In other words, there's something here we're supposed to learn. In other words, we've created this illness for ourselves because we need to experience something and learn something.
Yes.
So just because, now this is going to sound strange. If I were to go through a time where I had very little cash, am I still abundant or not? I absolutely am.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely am abundant.
Yes.
I can't be anything but abundant. But in this particular situation, I've created it in order for me to learn something. So if I'm learning something, that only means I'm becoming better, more expanded, and more abundant.
Exactly.
It's kind of a little bit of a mind screw. Again, this is part of changing the way you think and changing your state of being. And I hate to say it this way, but it is true. When you start seeing the glass is half full, man, things start happening for you.
It does. And you know, the gratitude, the vibration you adopt in the midst of the difficulty are sometimes even tests. What's our authentic self in the midst of lack? It's sometimes just a test for ourselves. Are we going to be grateful that the bill got paid? You might have $100 left, but the bill's paid. And that's actually to show ourselves sometimes of, this is my choice. And if I can add, we let the laws of the universe, the collective consciousness, the spirit intelligence, we let them know, I choose abundance.
That's good. Yep.
Does that make sense?
Oh, that's your state of being.
Yeah.
That's creating your state of being.
In the midst of all the chaos, I choose it. And it actually is going to like attract more and more and more and build, you know?
Yeah. My tagline on my work email is, I don't fix problems. I fix my thinking, and the problems fix themselves.
Wow, that's powerful.
I don't need to fix problems. I just fix my thinking, and the problems fix themselves.
So true.
Words have power. Words are energy. Words are frequency. They cast spells.
Yes.
That's why it's called spelling.
Spelling. So cast a spell on yourself. I am abundance.
Yeah.
I am love. I am joy. I am peace. And we will start attracting peace.
Yeah.
We'll start attracting situations and people.
I am love. That's good. I like that one too, is I am love. Yeah. And the more you do this, the more you're just going to see changes coming at you like, what? What just happened?
Things drop off. People drop off, relationships might drop off, situations drop off, but then it opens the door for new things to come in because you're changing your vibration. You're changing your energetic quantum field that surrounds you.
Your energy body.
By the laws of the nature, by the laws of the universe, only that which is of that vibration can come in.
That's right.
And I will say meditation is really good to connecting to anything related to God, source, consciousness, because anytime you get into your heart space versus your head, anytime you get into your heart space, there's something magical about our hearts.
You know what? That's a good point. This is a question I was thinking about asking, and I totally forgot about it till just now. What if somebody asks you this question, how would you answer it? What does it mean to open your heart?
That's a good question.
What does it mean?
I would say opening my heart. If someone says open your heart, what that would mean to me is to fill it with love and then let it surround me in protection like a hug.
Okay.
That's to me, at this point in my life, that to me is opening a heart with a vibration that is higher than my current energy around me, current atmosphere, current.
How would you explain that to a materialist?
I would explain it to a materialist by saying, bring in an event that makes you, what is the most happiest moment of your life? What was where you set, for me it was publishing my first book.
Oh,
I actually had to tap into that energy before I connected to my heart space. The one that I like to do sometimes is imagine you on your favorite vacation spot and how you felt. So to somebody who's never felt their heart, I tend to lead them in that direction of what was your happiest moment in life.
That's
and
good.
Just like, oh, yeah. And you can almost feel it. But that's my perspective.
No, that's
What's
perfect.
your perspective?
No, that's perfect. That's perfect because ultimately it's that sense that you want to develop. So earlier I was talking about raising your vibration. The term open your heart and raise your vibration are the same thing.
Yes.
So for those people who don't understand it, and what I meant by explain this to a materialist is explain it to a person who only sees in 3D.
Yes.
Right? Open your heart. What do you mean? Open my heart.
Here.
If I open my heart, I'll die.
Yeah.
Right? No. So let me go Joe Dispenza on you again. There's an area behind your physical heart. It's a group of neurons. We also know this through yoga as a chakra, which is, now here's a very interesting tidbit that not a lot of people know. We've heard of chakras. Dispenza calls them energy centers, so because he stays away from any type of religious terminology.
Spiritual, yeah. Okay.
The interesting thing is that where each of these centers are in your body, there is a small group of neurons. Where else do you find a small group of neurons? Oh, where do you find the most neurons? Your brain. So what do we have? We've actually got 7 little mini brains within our body that control functions and things within us physically. Now there's also the spiritual aspect of it. So when you do say open your heart, that group of neurons in there is what is generating that. You said get out of your head, right? You get out of your head and you can't feel in your head. You feel in your body.
Yes.
That's what Ruth meant by getting out of your head. You start to feel, and I can't explain this other than to give you an example of you felt the warmth start here, right? Or maybe you felt the warmth start here in your solar plexus.
Yes.
Those are feelings. And those are those energy centers, those bundles of neurons that are doing their spiritual work rather than their physical work, their 3D physical work. So,
and it going back to where everything has an energetic blueprint around it, you're tapping into the energetic blueprint of your body that your physical 3D pulled from that chakra to build your stomach.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
It's fascinating.
That's beautiful.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
You got any last comments for the audience?
I invite you to develop your own perspective and to be okay if you don't fully have a complete perspective.
Continue to develop it.
Yes, and it's okay for you to feel differently as you go through this process of discovering who God is to you. Because as you heard from my example, I went through myriad of feelings, and yet you really can't do it wrong. If you truly want to know, you really can't do it wrong.
That's right.
especially if you're going to start with your body. That's your best protection. That's your best guidance to connect to all things of the light, is stay in your own body, stay grounded, stay focused. Some people have said, imagine an elevator coming from your brain down to, and you just feel. And some people say, feel your body, just drop into your body.
Just drop in. I mean, I heard that. Just drop into your heart. Drop into your heart space. What the hell do you mean, drop into my heart space? What does that mean?
So take it as a resin. Do what means the best for you.
Then I heard the elevator analogy, and that resonated with me, because in my mind's eye, my imagination, I could see myself in this elevator moving down to my heart. To my heart. And then there was another visualization that helped after that, but I'll get into that another day. Actually, we're going to interview the man that taught me that stuff.
Nice. Yeah. A quiet meditation while being in your body. If that's all you can do is sit with that feeling of your body, it's going to really help you.
Yeah.
And then you can develop your own practices.
And I really think too, at some point here, we've got to do a series on meditation.
Yes.
Yeah. And with that one, we're going to do a lot of interviews, because meditation is not a one-stop shop.
Meditation will change your life.
It will.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
like the one No Stop Shop. There's so many different practices out there.
Yeah. And again, find what works for you, and just know that you're unlimited and way more powerful than you could ever imagine in this 3D world.
This was amazing, Cory.
Great, Ruth. Wow. Well done.
Put in the comments what you think.
Yeah. We'd love to hear from you guys.
We would love to hear your experiences.
Yeah. And what would you like to hear us talk about? What kind of subject matter would you like to see us interview people on? Let us know.
I'm excited.
I'll ring us out, Ruth.
Ring
You
us
ready?
out. Yes.